The ANC in Sebokeng has held a candlelight and prayer ceremony for the children who lost their lives in a horrific accident on Monday. 14 children died when a scholar transport minibus taxi collided with a truck in Vanderbijlpark. The tragedy has prompted calls for stricter regulations for scholar transport. Parents are being urged to check if the vehicle their children are traveling in is roadworthy. Meanwhile, the 22-year-old driver of the minibus taxi has made his first appearance in court on murder charges. Faith-based leaders and political officials attended the prayer meeting.
We have witnessed a very sad and moving ceremony where community leaders and religious leaders, as well as politicians, have come forward to share words of comfort to the community at large and to the families of those who lost their children. We know that 2 more children have lost their lives and succumbed to their injuries in hospital, bringing the number to 14. A very sad moment. We heard some of the people who spoke saying that it is extremely sad to lose a child, and that wound is deeper and more painful than the pain of bringing life into the world. And really just many community members just coming forward and sharing their words of comfort and reading from different scriptures, words of encouragement and comfort to the families. And we are now joined by the ANC's Nomvula Mukunyane, who is here. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. You have been the person to initiate this, and you've spoken quite deeply, and you've also stated that as a mother you know the pain of losing a child. What does it mean when you say an injury to one is an injury to all?
Thank you very much. Firstly, on behalf of the ANC and all our alliance partners, with the Congress of South African Students, COSAS, convey our sincere condolences to the families of our innocent souls, as well as wish those that are still in hospital speedy recovery. What we meant is that in the African culture, any child is my child, what the Secretary General of the Women's League said. Secondly, that those of us who have given birth, we know the pain of labor, but those of us who have lost a child, the pain never goes. You just learn to live with the pain. It's a generation that has been wiped off. It's something that the nation actually stopped for a moment, and it had to take mothers, the ANC Women's League, working together with the ANC here in Sedibeng, to give the necessary support to the Congress of South African Students who have lost the constituency, but to us who have actually come to realize that sometimes our plans are not God's plans, but what is of importance is to lend a hand and a shoulder to the bereaved families and spend this time together with them, break at some moment celebrate, but most importantly, wish that their spirit should actually live amongst us.
During your speech, you mentioned something about having good schools within the community. What exactly did you mean by that?
One of the things that the mass democratic movement and communities in South Africa wish to see is access to schooling to an extent where our kids don't have to travel long distances. And therefore, what this has done, it has made us to pause and look about the issues of access, the issues of quality, but most importantly, the issues of all of us owning up the education system and make it everybody's business. We need to work together and give courage to those who are members of the school governing bodies to ensure that then on administration and management of our schools, let's not make parents to make choices that take our children far from where they live. But now that we are here, let us all give and lend a hand. It's the time to grieve. off. And in this period, we must all actually be united. There's no other thing in my African culture that unites a nation like the passing on of one of your own with innocent souls. Hence, the ANC Women's League had actually risen and said, your child is my child. COSAS has now come out to say, let's make sure that as education is everybody's business, access should also be everybody's concern.
And what are the hiccups really when it comes to access? Right now we're dealing with the challenge where some children have not been placed and some parents feel as though they're not being given the freedom to choose and select the school of their choice because of a system that was introduced to ease the burden of applying, but it has seemingly created even more challenges for parents.
We must make sure that the standards are the same everywhere in our country. And we must make sure that even the processes of admission do not actually create a problem in terms of removing children from their own localities. And whilst parents have the freedom of choice, because our education is, yes, a public education system, but there's also a mixed system where even private schooling is encouraged, that where parents make a choice, let it not be a complicated choice that may cost our children's lives. Every support structure, including the transport sector, must actually take care of these offshoots of a better life and a better future. Because what we have seen here is the wiping off of a generation.
Certainly, with the wiping off of a generation, you talk about how the potential that they could have lived up to and the fact that, you know, these kids could have grown up to be future leaders and so on. But the part of the reason for this is also the fact that maybe some parents have not been checking the validity of the vehicles or the roadworthiness of the vehicles. What message do you then have to those parents when it comes to ensuring that the transportation of their children is that of a good quality?
Scholar transport is part of making sure that education is accessible and is easy for any South African learner. What is of importance is to make sure that there's compliance. And for now, we should be focusing on the lives that we have lost. We should allow the law to take its own course. We should make sure that those that are in authority ensure that there is compliance. Our SGBs and COSAS and many others must take keen interest on the vehicles abumalume abatata abantwana. They must also make sure that school safety becomes one of the important things. And when we post sending of these innocent souls, there is a need for the education sector in its entirety to then say the death of these ones is one but too many. Let's make sure that in their honor there is compliance by those who ferry our children, but secondly, we make sure that there's certainty that everyone who ferries our kids will bring our kids safe. For now, let's all rally behind the families and make sure that we give a decent send-off. We lend a hand as the ANC Women's League has done, working together with COSAS and many other organizations in giving the necessary support. And for that, we are quite humbled as the African National Congress. We are humbled by the faith-based organizations. We are humbled by professionals who have come forward to give social support. We are humbled by charity organizations. We are humbled by us ensuring that an injury to one is an injury to all, and therefore let us be together.
Were any of the parents a part of the ceremony, and do we perhaps know when the funeral will be held and if it will be a mass funeral?
There will be different dates, Saturday and Sunday, and the region of the ANC here in Sebokeng is part of the preparations. The regional secretary, the ANC Women's League, is part of the preparatory committee. Gauteng government is on deck, and all of us. So there will be 2 days of the burials that would take place at Soltotetsi Hall here in Sebokeng region. And the details will be conveyed from tomorrow by the regional leadership.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. There you have it. That is Nomvula Mokunyane speaking to us about the ceremony that has just been held and concluded here in Sebokeng. A very sad moment for the entire community, losing 14 children in one go.